I can recommend to the chairman or to the MD or to the CEO. Because if you go to him with the problem, he any which way is supposed to be there receiving all the problems. But he has hired you so that you can come back to him with options that, sir or ma'am, 1, 2, 3, these are the 3 options. My suggestion is 1 or 2 or 3 and why. And then he tells you, okay, yes, do it, don't do it, or let's do this.
So I'm going to come back to you and Bhargav Saab also later with one anecdote from your career which really stands out and impacts this subject. So I'm coming back to you in a while with anecdote questions. Tarun, content versus communication skills. You have to be a great communicator and you have to write lucidly and you have to present lucidly, but then that depth of knowledge and know-how. Now, let's say you, Sudeep and Mr. Bhargav and I were probably not domain specialists in what we're doing. As far as I know, I mean, you haven't been a pilot, sir. You haven't been a steel engineer. You've not been a doctor. I have not been anything. But the thing is that generalists are nothing. They basically know a bit of everything. So, Tarun, what is that fine line?
See, it really doesn't matter. I think, as Sudeep also mentioned, that you have to research your subject. You have to know who you're writing for, what are his expectations, what does he, want to put out there.
Yes.
All that work you have to do and get under the skin of the subject. You don't have to be a doctor to write on health. So a lot of homework you have to do. And I think even within PR, you need to see whether, like, Guardian and Spectator, they have journalists covering one theme for 20 years. Only they are entitled to go and ask serious questions from CEOs. So similarly, for people even who are starting out, if you've done your homework, you've understood the simple 4 W's of what, why, where, how, all of that, that itself gives you some insight. And the question is to report as faithfully as you can and to be prepared that some of it could get misrepresented. So your arsenal has to be big enough to be able to counter some of that and indulge in some amount of redressal if required. What else were you asking?
And also add this social media, digital requirement, Instagram, Twitter, whatever is there is instant. There is scope for error, no time to research. So just talk about that.
So fortunately, the social sector is a little more responsible, right? Because they're covering very sensitive topics and themes, and they cannot afford to risk, with FCRA regulation getting cancelled, and they cannot afford to antagonize governments or donors for that matter. So they are very careful of fake media. And post-COVID, that's what happened, which is how things like infodemics came up. And there's a science on infodemics. On even newspapers, I was with Mint for a long time, and we had a fact-checking desk, a rewrite desk. So a lot of emphasis was given to not just attribute a story to sources. You have to mention who those sources are. So, and if there was a mistake, the newspaper they had a section where they would put out there that they have made a mistake and there's an error and they would apologize. Not many media houses do any of that. So I think all those concerns are very valid. And the social sector, fortunately, as I said, is a little more responsible in this.
Wonderful. Well
and it's
said.
not so much individual-centric. You'll find very rarely a country head wanting to put himself or herself out there and wanting publicity. It's more the project, the theme, the best practices, and a lot of it is strategic. So a lot of discussions, a lot of brainstorming happens as to what you want to put out. It's not just go out and put out a story. Right. So I think strategic communication is what is critical.
Absolutely. You can relax for 5 minutes. We'll call you back. 5 minutes. Give us 5 minutes. Achha, you'll be here. So I'm very happy to receive a parchi, by the way, because nowadays we receive these WhatsApp messages. We used to receive these parchis long ago, right? It's beautiful handwriting as well. I won't tell you what it says. Okay. Now, anecdotes to highlight the point that we're talking about. Just a couple of anecdotes. I have some very simple, basic ones. So there was a CEO kind of person. She was the advisor of the administration, and there was some kind of law and order problem. There was stone pelting on the police. And she called me up at 10 p.m. and this was the era when SMS had started. No WhatsApp, no nothing. SMS and calls. She said, Vivek, there is a news item going that the police has lathi charged these people who were stone pelting and 20 or 18 people are injured. But 6 of our police people have been injured. Nobody is talking about that. And I'm sure that this will not be carried in the paper. These are the names. Please ensure. Now 10 p.m. in that era, 20 years ago, was beyond deadlines. जो गया वो गया, अब चेंज नहीं हो सकता. We all know that. I also knew that some will, some won't, perhaps. But the goodwill you have counts at that time, corporate communication. So I texted about 8 of them. No calls. 10 baje no call. I texted about 8 of them and 4 of them carried it. So she was delighted the next day. Kaise manage kiya? I said, ma'am, you expected me to do it, but you didn't believe that I could do it? She said, no, I did believe, I did. Now she started expecting more after that, of course. So that, but nowadays, of course, even midnight is, I write a column for the Hindustan Times. I realized at 11 p.m. that one of the words which was going in the draft, they send you a playback, is wrong. 11 p.m. I called up the editor, can this be changed? And it was changed. Next morning it's there, or midnight, whatever. So times are changing. Anecdote. Bhargav sir, one anecdote.
Right, they're plentiful of it. As I said, MS Gujral was one instance. But what is applicable and relevant to us, say if you are really not on the right side of your CEO, but you really wish to communicate like it happened in our case in Air India as a government organization. Chairman siding with the minister, causing loss to the organization. He wouldn't allow me. Tulsi Das was the chairman at that time, an highest person. I can't go and tell him, sir, what you are doing is wrong, not in the interest of the organization. Now you reflect back, if you have the domain knowledge and basically communication skills. In most PSUs, you have a monthly letter coming out from the chairman's desk. So I said, okay. So what I need to tell him